Welcome back to the Media Bolt Podcast, where we talk all things content creation. So no matter if you're using a big budget cinema camera or filming on your cell phone, we're here to provide you with practical knowledge for the next time you press record. Today we are live from Studio Space MKE. Gotta check this spot out. And I got a very special guest. I got a gaffer, but he's really a DP that is growing his work to another level, and he is the best vibes on set. My guy, Marquel Henderson.
How y'all doing today?
What's good, bro?
Nothing much, man. Living, thriving, trying to be better.
I love that, man. Appreciate you coming out. It's been a minute. We've been trying to get you out on podcast, and we're glad to have you here, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. I guess just starting out, we always do this as cliche, but the first question, filmmaking. Why, when, and what inspired you to get started in this career field?
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like I've always been a creative since I was very young. I was really into music and just visual arts in general. So it kind of really started in high school when me and my brother Lamar started doing little random skits in high school. More of that and less of class. But we started doing random skits and things that we thought were, funny, and just recording them on our cell phone and stuff and posting them onto Facebook and just getting reactions out of it. Cause, we went to Milwaukee High School of the Arts, which is a visual arts school. And, they have band, choir, writing and stuff like that. But we went for visual arts. So I was always into drawing and, painting and stuff like that from an early young age. Right. And that kind of evolved into different kind of avenues to express creatively, which was like music, skits, comedy, video and stuff like that. So it really started taking off in high school where we started doing skits and stuff. And then I made the decision to go to UWM in about 2014 and go for film just to see kind of like how those things work, because I was always interested in commercials and TV and movies in general and how they were made and the background of it. So it kind of started there, and then I went to UWM 2014. I only did a semester, but I went for the film program because I heard it was really good. Met a lot of people there, and it kind of just went from there. I only did a semester because I went more for the technical side. I went more for learning how to operate cameras and like lighting and stuff like that, because that was kind of like the more making it pretty kind of part of filmmaking that I was interested in. And don't get me wrong, UWM is a great place. It has a really good film program. It just wasn't for me. A lot of people got a lot of benefit from it and went all 4 years and did it. But it just wasn't for me. I felt like I could go out and go into the world and learn a lot more quicker if I just did it on my own, because I wasn't getting that from UWM. So that's like no shade to UWM or anything, but it's a great school, but it just wasn't for me. So after that, I left UWM and I got a full-time job just working. I kind of put it on the back burner a little bit while I focused on like my music career, because I used to make music and produce and engineer and stuff like that, which is like more avenues for creativity that I just was picking up and learning off of YouTube University. Yep. So I put film on the side, started picking up music more, and around the pandemic area, I decided to get back into it, and I bought my first camera when the pandemic happened, which was probably not the best investment at the time, but it turned out to be the best investment for me. And I just bought a camera and started doing music videos around Milwaukee, and decided to like separate myself because there was a lot of music videographers around Milwaukee. Separating myself by just the level of quality that I was putting out and the level of creativity, with also better color grading, because I noticed that was something that was really lacking. In a lot of it, high-end cameras that like $2,000-$3,000, but they looked like somebody shot it on an iPhone. So I kind of separated. I kind of separated myself with that and got a lot of interest and a lot of opportunities doing that. But I did that for about a year and a half, and that kind of got old for me. I just found myself wanting more and wanted to do more and just to create more and be on more stable environments. where, you know, it was seemed more legit to me because I couldn't see myself making the kind of money that I wanted to make doing music videos in Milwaukee for $300-400 a pop.
Right. Yeah, it's a tough.
Yeah,
that's a tough market.
It's a very tough market. And, you know, it's really hard to do it creatively and do it efficiently, but also do it at the level that you want to do it at, because you're always fighting a lot of, you know, different obstacles along the way. So around 2020, 2021, I decided to put it down and focus more into the film aspect of it and like commercial narrative stuff. Stuff that I feel was more creative, where I could make money in it also, but also get more out of it and learn more skills to it, because it got to a point with music videos where I feel like I was the biggest player, you know, in the game around. You know what I'm saying? I was
his biggest boss that you've seen thus far.
Yeah, to me, I was a heavy hitter, you know, because I distinguished myself. So I feel like I was at a ceiling that I really couldn't get past unless I moved somewhere else. And I didn't want to do that.
Well, who were some of your early mentors that kind of helped you get over that first, you know, step? You know, obviously it's like you're in that pond, you're doing your thing, and it's like now I'm going somewhere else where I don't know shit. You know what I mean? Like, who are those people that kind of helped you along the way at the beginning of that?
Yeah. Well, I've always been someone who loves to face adversity and just jump headfirst into the water without any training. You know, I'm kind of like, if somebody's uncle threw the 1-year-old baby in the pool to see if they could swim, I was the baby, you know? So I always just put myself in uncomfortable situations to see how I came out of it. So when I decided to move away from music videos, I decided to contact some people that I saw in my community and around that was doing the things that I wanted to do. And those were some people out in California, some people out in Portland, Oregon, some people that I followed on Instagram and stuff. There was one person that I saw that I actually knew that I really saw doing the things that I wanted to do, and that was Mr. Spencer Ortega, the person you've had him on your podcast before.
Yeah, I think everyone watching this knows. Knows Spence.
Mr. Ortega, that's my Obi-Wan. He really taught me a whole bunch about the business and just the creative aspect of it. And he was the only person that I saw in my area that I actually knew. I knew few people that I know really well now, but I never met them. But I knew Spencer Ortega because he was my RA when I did that semester in 2014 at UWM. So I really knew him. I didn't know him the best, but I knew him. He knew me. Yeah. And I saw that he was doing the things that I wanted to do and how creative he was getting. Just the environments that he was in and the sets and seeing the big lights and, you know, the big cameras and stuff like that, it really intrigued me. So I just decided to reach out to him and say, hey, you know, like, I know it's been a while. I haven't talked to you in probably like 3-4 years. Yeah. But I'm trying to get more into the community and more into the film space as opposed to the music video space. And he got right back to me and gave me a shot. Yeah. He was like, hey, I'm doing this film. I'm doing a short film. If you want to come and help out on set, come through. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. You know, like I told him, like, you don't got to pay me or nothing. I just want to come and just be there, you know, and see how it goes and just see if this is even something that I really want to be interested in.
I feel like a silver lining through a lot of successful people that I've noticed in this industry is the lack of fear about reaching out and asking for help. I think a lot of times we get very like, we know what we're doing, or we got this thing figured out, but to like break it down and be like, I don't know it. I don't understand. I'm asking for help. I think it's such a powerful thing, and that's something that you should always do through life. And that's awesome that you did that. Is that something you still do when you want to find and learn and you're exploring new avenues? Yeah.
I always find myself doing that just in different environments, different areas. I'm a proud sponsor of Fake It Till You Make It. Act like you got it and make sure you do, you know? So I mean, I just did it yesterday on a gig. My first time touching a Fisher dolly. Never dolly gripped or anything like that, but I just wanted to learn the equipment because it's a big piece of like government equipment. You can't even buy one of those. So just learning how to operate it and do it properly it's been something I've been interested in. And I got my shot yesterday and everybody was impressed. I acted like I knew how to operate that thing, and
I got this.
Yeah, I was like, I can figure this out, you know? So that's just something that I'd like to do. And that's just something that I advise everybody to do is just, especially in this industry, just fake it till you make it. And, you know, if you get exposed, you get exposed, you know?
Yeah.
That's what happened on that first set that I did with Spencer. I've never AC'd a day in my life. I didn't even know how to operate it or, you know, any of that. I just seen it on YouTube. I've seen how to do certain things, you know, but I've never like did it in practice and stuff. And he needed somebody to pull focus. And he asked the whole room, like, anybody want to pull focus on this? It was like me and like 3 other people. And those people were like, nah, I don't trust myself to do that. You know, I was like, I'll do it. You know, throw me in. And I messed up a few shots, you know what I'm saying? But Spencer let me know that it was really tough. It was anamorphic, and we were shooting on these old vintage Soviet lenses that were super soft. Like, he just kept letting me know, like, you're doing good. Like, these are really tough lenses to pull focus on. So, like, you're doing good. He'll give me tips on the way and stuff. That's one thing about Spencer that I really admire and that I try to implement whenever I'm on set or not on set is just giving information and value whenever you can and letting people know it's never too busy on set for you to ask me a question and to try to get some knowledge out of me. Because we're in a different time as opposed to 20 years ago where nobody's gatekeeping. Right, you know, everybody wants to help each other and just build the community up further than where we've already built it up. So, yeah, if you need any advice, dive in that water and see if you can swim. You never know if you can swim, you know? So
it's funny, the time I met you, you were pulling focus on Spider-Gwen, and I was asking you a bunch of questions because I had never done it, and you let me mess around with it a little bit. Yeah. And it's funny because that was the day I actually met Spencer as well, and it was like he had me holding a ladder, and he's climbing on the side of a building, mounting lights, and I was like, dude, this is crazy. Crazy. I'm just used to doing, you know, interview setups. We out here in the middle of the alley, but community is so key. You know, this, especially here in Milwaukee, we have this like different bond. You know, when you go to other places, it's very business. Where it's like here, it's like your grips and your gaffers play, you know, Apex with you, or you know,
or Marvel Rivals,
or Arc Raiders. I don't know. Yeah, you know, let us know in the chat what y'all playing.
All of that.
But yeah, it's just a real cool. It's just a real cool environment. It's much different. And I don't know. Love this place, man. I'm just so thankful that, you know, my wife was from here and I wound up landing here in Milwaukee. But something I wanted to ask you, you know, you're a DP. Yeah. You kind of came along as a gaffer. Yeah. How has that knowledge as being a gaffer and doing that quite a bit helped you now as you move forward as a DP? Because there's a lot of DPs that are much more about framing and just like the artsy-fartsy part of it. And less on the technical, you know what I mean? How has that helped you?
I think it's crucial. I think it's a big deal to come from the bottom and work your way up. I started as like a production assistant too. I went from production assistant to ACing, and then ACing I went to gripping, and then gripping to gaffing. And then the whole time I wanted to actually be a DP. I think it's really crucial. Mainly for communication, because when you get on these sets where people they have budgets of $10, $20, $50, $100,000, you know, time is of the essence. And if you're that front leader, that main person behind the camera that is calling the shots, you got to be able to communicate effectively. And to be able to do that, I feel like you have to know what these other people that you hired to be special at their jobs, you have to know what they're doing. So me being wanting inspiring to be a DP and like coming from the gaffer world, I know how to communicate to my gaffer what I'm looking for. And I think it's also crucial to communicate in a way where you're not telling the gaffer exactly what you want them to use, but exactly what you want them to do. So as opposed to saying, I want a 600X over there through a light dome, and then I want a 1200X here going through a slash on a spotlight, and then I want a big, you know, Godox 800 over top for my top light and stuff. I think it's a lot more effective to communicate. I want a big push. I want a natural sunlight push through the window here. And I want that vanity over there popped with some splash. And then I want something real soft coming from the top. And then let your gaffer choose the tools and the right way to execute that, because the gaffer is the person under you, but they're the head of their department. So they have to be able to communicate that effectively and it kind of gets old when people are just telling you exactly what you should use.
Yeah.
It takes the creativity away from the gaffer and letting them choose the pieces that they want to choose to execute it. And me being a gaffer and working with a lot of DPs, a lot of them do give you that luxury. You do run into DPs occasionally that say like, well, I want a 1200X right here. And, and you give it to them because that's what it is. But working with a lot of DPs, I got my own ways of doing things. And, I'm the gaffer that slides stuff in. You know what I'm saying? I give you your whole setup and then I pop a few things here and there.
Yeah.
And don't tell you about it until we about to press record. So you can't really say nothing about it. But 9 times out of 10, the DPs love it, and it really puts that creativity on you. And it really shows your DP like, oh, this dude knows what he's doing. And he's trying to add to the creativity that I'm trying to give. So I think it's really important to go from the bottom up and learn, at least learn what the people in these departments that you're running are doing. So DP is really at the top. You're the person behind the camera. You got to learn what your first AC is doing and how they do it and how the second AC does this for the first AC. You have to know what the gaffer's doing and how they're going to communicate this setup to the key grip and how the key grip is going to let all of his grips under him understand how to execute this efficiently so that you're not wasting time on set and you also achieve the ultimate goal of what you're trying to achieve in the shot.
Yeah. I think we have a lot of listeners that are, either new to filmmaking or getting their feet wet and wanting to get on bigger sets like that. Would you be able to give like a quick rundown of maybe the lighting department, the grip department, and camera department, and how they work together?
Yeah. So the director and the DP, they're the main creatives of whatever you're doing. So you have the producer that puts the project together, the director who executes the project creatively, and they go out and they work with the DP, and the DP does it visually. The DP is the top of the department from there, and there's camera department, and then there's G&E, grip and electric department. So they're 2 separate departments, but the DP works closely with the gaffer, who is the head of that department, to work together to execute it visually. So the DP is the head of the camera department, which is a first AC who is under them. This is the person that pulls focus and hits record when they need to, stop recording, and make sure everything is looking sharp. And then the first AC usually has a second AC who helps them with swapping out lenses, getting marks for focus, fixing issues with time code and stuff like that. They help them, and they're usually the person slating, the clapperboard. They're usually the person slating is the second AC. And then occasionally you have a DIT. It's a luxury to have a DIT these days. But then you have a DIT that works.
We got a DIT last year. I was like, damn, we balling.
It's a luxury. It's a luxury because, the second AC or the first AC has to go and do what the DIT does at the end of the shoot if they don't have one. But the DIT is the person that takes care of all of the media and also handles like the viewing of LUTs and stuff through the camera on set. And they're like working closely with the first AC and second AC. So that's camera department. And then you have G&E, which is grip and electric. So the gaffer takes care of the lighting, fixtures, and everything, 1200Xs, Kodaxs, all that stuff like that. The gaffer has a key grip who executes all of the rigging and takes care of like things like bringing stands and making menace arms and stuff like that. That's the key grip, and the key grip has best boy grips and stuff under them who help them execute that more efficiently. So they're like closer towards the end. They go get the stands, set them up. They don't have any oversight over how the rigging is going to go or anything, or putting things in the ceiling and stuff. They just help out with it. And then from there, you get into your PAs and, stuff like that. That's typically how sets are. There's different pieces like dolly grips and stuff when you got like bigger things going on.
Specialty rolls. For cranes and all that fun stuff. And
like Steadicam and stuff like that. Those are specialty rolls that they don't really have a department. They just fall in camera department because they work with cameras.
Right.
But they don't have like, they're not the head of a department or anything. There's not like the bosses or anything like that.
That was very, very eloquently said right there.
Thank you.
That was very helpful. I know there's a lot of resources and places you can go learn more about that. But getting on set is one of the best ways to just like, get in there and start figuring things out.
Yeah.
Don't feel afraid if you're ever on set and you don't know the terminology or you don't know what they're asking to be like, sorry, I don't know what that is. Can you please explain?
Yes.
When they tell you go get a lollipop, or you gotta, I don't know, turn the Apple box to Chicago or whatever, and you're like, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Ask, it's okay, because there was a moment when I didn't know any of it either, and I would fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah, fake it till you make it, for sure. And that's also key, is not being able to say like I don't know that, because I mean, when you're on certain sets, people expect you to know, but it falls in different lines. Like fake it till you make it, unless it gets dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're putting up a menace arm and somebody asks you to put up a menace arm, a gaffer or whoever would rather much have you say, I don't know how to do that, than to go try it and then something falls and gets dangerous. But like you said, like Apple Box Chicago, or give me a lollipop and stuff like that, I'd rather you go and try to bring me something back and it be wrong, and say like, oh, he really tried, than the latter of being like, I don't know what that is. So now I feel like, okay, well, I got to take some time to go and let this person know. And then we got to do like a whole walkthrough and understanding the C-stands and stuff like that. Different situations, different strokes.
Yeah.
It just depends on the kind of level of the set. You know?
And typically when you're on a set that's maybe a little to no budget, you're helping out, that's a great place to like break it down, ask as much questions. And you'll start to, obviously, if you're getting paid and you're being put in a position, you probably have some sort of background, and you've done enough of that work. But first time you get out there and just and try it,
just go try it.
I got a question for you. So now focusing more as like the DP mentality, where are some places that you like to go to pull inspiration, whether you're maybe creating a deck, or you want to kind of show, the director your visual language that you want to share with them? How do you kind of go about that? It's like pulling references and stuff.
As far as pulling references, I do have a few sites that I use, but my main go-to is Instagram. I follow a lot of people that are creatives, a lot of directors, a lot of DPs, a lot of gaffers, and they post constantly their work that they've been doing recently, and I save them. I have different like folders in Instagram, commercials, short film, spec work. I have these saved, and then I have some even saved based on the look. Is this high key? Is this low key? Is this moody? Is it not? Instagram is a really good place to do that, because these are your peers that are executing these projects, and if they put it on Instagram, that means they want you to see it, and it's really good work, and it's really good to pull inspiration from those. So a lot of times I'll just go screenshot that and put those in like the decks and stuff like that. But I also like to use a shot deck when it's more of like creative stuff, narrative and things like that, because it's more stylized looks. And when I'm doing more commercial stuff, I like to go to Frameset. They have a lot of commercials on there, and I mean Shot Deck does too, but Frameset has more like baseline commercials that are just everyday kind of things. Frameset has been a really big go-to for me to get like high key looks, low key looks. They have a lot of filters to filter by camera and filter by look, style, color, and stuff like that.
Genre even too. I think if you just type in wrestling, like you can get more options there than maybe on the one movie about wrestling that's on Shot Deck.
For sure. And you can get a long way with the free version. I mean, you only get a limited amount of searches, but I mean, even paying for it, it's really a no-brainer to me, just to get ideas and to be able to communicate your idea visually to someone who's never seen it or even doesn't even care to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
I like always going on there and like finding an inspiration and then setting it up in my house or setting it up in my living room or whatever, and try to like match it as closely as you can. Or another thing I like to do is there's some sites on IG where you can, you'll see the frame and then they have the lighting set up. So I like try to look at the lighting or the frame and not look at the lighting setup and try to guess where shit is. What did they go through the fusion right here? Is this or is this a hard source? That's usually easy to kind of get. But then some of the other stuff, like how they sprinkle the background, that's a little harder sometimes.
Yeah.
And then revealing it and being like, I was close, but I missed.
Right.
They had that negative feel over there.
Those are good reps.
Caught that.
Those are good reps. I do that often too. Is I go and I go through my collection and I try to guess like where lights are, how many lights were used, or like what kind of diffusion was used, where the light is, and that's how I've gotten so good at being a gaffer that doesn't know the setups, doesn't know the creative and stuff, and just walking on set and taking what the DP wants and giving it to him.
Yeah,
it's really essential to be that way as a gaffer at some point in your career, because you will get hired back on set if you can come on set and not see the creative, not see the deck, and be able to execute the DP's plan just based off your general knowledge of getting those reps in. I saw on this commercial that this was a 3-point lighting setup, or this was a 4-point lighting setup, and like light was coming here, harsh here, here, and there, and it looked amazing. And I know how to give the DP that if they communicate it like that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times taking those reps and giving it to the DP without them asking get you highly requested as well. Because like I said, a lot of times I throw stuff in there. I just give it a shot because I'm like, I think this will look good. And you know, there's times where it's a miss and they're like, oh, I don't like that. I'm like, okay, yeah, looks like shit. Take it out. Yeah, cool. But a lot of the times the DP is like, whoa, like what did you do there? You know, and I let them know, and then they take that into their style and put it into their style and put it into their next shoot. So you're making the DP creative and abilities better. Yeah, they want to bring you back more so that you can.
At the end of the day, they're trying to get the best image possible. Yeah, tell the story visually the best way possible. So when you have those, that's what's really important about that. You know, the department heads and who you have underneath, those people are supporting you. Yeah. And there's people that make careers supporting that DP, and that there's DPs that make directors' careers, you know, and really kind of help elevate them. And you find these people work together a lot going forward, but that's why, because they help each other. Yeah. Helping each other. And you, as a gaffer, you got to make your DP think. You got to make them think about their decisions, because you can't just always execute what they want. There's times where a DP wants something that's just not possible. There's times where a DP wants something where they're shooting on the key side, and you know, like you're gonna want to be on that negative side, but they're so flustered and they got all these other jobs that they have to take care of, and they got a director in their ear here and another creative here, while they're trying to interpret their own creative style to it. A lot of times they just, hey, let's get this, or like they get flustered because of time management and just get in there. So you got to like be able to rein your DP in sometimes and say like, we can't get this, but you don't want to tell your DP often that you can't do something for them. You just want to make them think like, I mean, I could do that for you, but you are on the key side. Yeah. And then they'll, well, we got to flip this. Thank you.
Okay, now we can go flip this. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You know, you got to be able to do that.
That's dope. That's dope. I like the way you approach that. Here's a quick question. Spherical or anamorphic?
See, so
you have one for life.
One for life?
Yeah.
I'm going anamorphic.
Right. Now explain to us the differences and why you choose.
Because there's different ways to do anamorphic. You got different squeezes, you have different looks, and you have different styles of anamorphic. You got 133, 166, you know, you got 2X anamorphics. So spherical, I mean, you have different focal lengths, but anamorphic, you add those different squeezes into there, and you can get those different styles. So you go 133 on the anamorphic, you can get really close to that spherical look, but you get that anamorphic aspect ratio and that anamorphic feel on it. Like, it's just something that the squeeze of anamorphic, when you de-squeeze it and you put it into its direct aspect ratio, it looks different. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it happens, but even a 133 will look better than a spherical to me in a lot of situations. You do have a lot more flavors of spherical, different kinds of lenses, photo lenses, cinema lenses, and then you go into different genres and stages of life in these spherical lenses. But if I had one for life, I would go anamorphic. Something about, actually, it was when I worked with you on Dream Shield Greatness. Those Mercuries made me feel different. They made me feel And I told you on set, I was like, these are crazy, you know, seeing so much working for different production companies and stuff, seeing so much shot on the FX6 and seeing you put those Mercuries on the FX6 was like,
it was a different camera.
It was a different camera. You know what I'm saying? And like with anamorphic, the sensor kind of really doesn't matter. The lens matter because it gives you that character. When you go spherical, the sensor does matter at some point. You know, when you put a spherical lens, like even like some RE signature primes or even some more base level, like, you know, some DZOs, you put those on a A6400 or something, like it's not going to look like if you put it on the A7S III. And that's not going to look like if you put it on the Venice. That's not going to look like if you put it on a more higher end camera. The sensor really matters. When you go anamorphic, you can put that on an iPhone, man, and it's going
to kind of be kind of clean.
It's going to give you some character, you know what I'm saying? And it just doesn't matter at that point.
What situations do you think spherical is like, you know, you want to lean into that? Because as a DP, you're making these decisions during the development, you know, when you're working with the director. Are there certain scenarios that you're... Because, of course, if we have the budget, let's get anamorphic. That's what a lot of people think, but sometimes it's not the right choice. When does that matter for spherical?
When you need to see more than just the center of the frame. Because anamorphic, you get wonky on the sides, you get distortion and stuff, and a lot of times that's good for more narrative stuff. But for commercials, sometimes you just want that spherical look, and you try to get the character out of the lens as opposed to getting the character from anamorphic. When you're working with spherical and you need to see stuff over here, stuff over there, background, foreground stuff a little more clearly, and you want it less stylized, spherical is the way to go. And a lot of times when you're on commercial sets, you can get too stylized and have the director or the producer be like, we need this a little more clean. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it's their objective and that's what they're trying to achieve. So anamorphic for me is really for those like Curry jump shots. Like, oh, this is mine right here. Like, okay, we're gonna go anamorphic. We're gonna make this look cool. But a lot of times that you got to be clean with it. You got to be simple, and you got to try to get that character out of the lens. Like, you know, like some Cooks or you know, some signature primes or some Zeisses. You know what I'm saying? You got to try to get the character out of the lens as opposed to getting the character from the view of the screen is what I would say.
Great. That was a great explanation. Appreciate that. I think our listeners are going to like that one too. That was dope.
For sure.
So is it bokeh or bokeh?
I say bokeh, but I think it's bokeh. I don't know. Everybody says it different, and I've never heard someone like put me in my place about the way it's said. I say bokeh, but bokeh sounds like it's more right. Bokeh sounds better though. You know, I don't know. It's weird.
That's tough. I feel like it's where you're born. I'm from the South, so it's bokeh.
Yeah, right. And I'm from Alabama.
Yeah.
So bokeh, it just roll off the tongue a little better.
Sound like somebody that lived down the road.
Yeah, right.
And then bokeh and them.
Yeah, bokeh and them, Bubba. Yeah, them boys.
That's what's up. So why would a DP want to take a liking into color grading? And this is a combo I think we're going to talk a lot about for a little bit.
I think
why is that important?
It's important for a DP to have a liking in color grading, because when you're going on set and you're trying to execute your vision, that's kind of like where your land is, and that's where your ground is. You know, you can execute an idea as well as you want to, but it goes to post and you have no say in color grading, and it looks like nothing that you want it to look like. Or you have a specific LUT that you curated for the project that you were seeing for 1, 2, narrative, 5, 10, 15, 20 days. You're seeing this day in and day out. You know how you want this to look. And then it goes to color grading and you have no say in it. It looks completely different from what you want. And it'll make you not want to even put it on your reel, your portfolio or nothing. So I think it's very important. It's kind of like what I said about learning the different positions. Like, you have to learn how it happens to know how to articulate what you're looking for, and also to understand what you're trying to get out of it. I'm a camera nerd. Like I probably nerded out too much about cameras, codecs, image quality, and stuff like that. I am a valid, proud pixel peeper. I do it all the time. But
We gotta get a badge to give folks on the set.
Hey, I need a belt, a satchel, all
Pixel
that.
Peepers.
Yeah, I'm there for sure. But you got to know. That's what makes you good. You got to know every aspect of what you're doing. Like, you can't go and be a DP and somebody asks you like, what frame rate are we in, and you don't know.
Ooh.
You can't ask like, what codec are we shooting in, and expect your first AC to know that before you. You know, you have to know these things. You have to know how color grading works. You have to know how to bring your image from log to Rec 709 at least, you know, and then take it from there. You have to know these things. It's very crucial, because if you don't, then you don't really care about how your image is coming out. You're just caring about pointing the camera. But you got to deep dive into these things. Why are we shooting in log? You got to deep dive into dynamic range to understand where you can put your camera and where you can't, how far you can push your sensor and where you can take it and where you can't. You got to be heavily involved in this so that you can communicate with all departments, your colorists, understanding what you want to do. You know, there's situations where you sit in on a color session and you're like, hey, I put this 2 stops under to preserve these shadows. Like, don't mess up my highlights here. Yeah. You know, and the colors is gonna respect you for it. You know, you got to be able to tell them I was going for this kind of look, and be able to articulate from that look what you're looking for. You can't just send them a picture and be like, I want this, because it's not going to look the same. You're not shooting in those environments. You're not using the same camera. You're not, I'm working with a Grammy Award winning colorist most times. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be able to understand what you want out of it. Like, I want the bluish vibes out of these shadows from this image, but I want to keep my midtones and stuff more neutral instead of going into this warmer side, like this image here. You got to be able to articulate that. And you can't articulate that unless you've color graded some stuff, unless you've put in some reps to at least try. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think a lot of people get really intimidated with color grading. Like, first of all, editing is its own beast, and then they see the color page, or they go to DaVinci and they're like, nope, not doing that. Let me go back to Premiere Pro and throw a LUT on there.
Never do that.
No, please don't.
Never do that.
I've done it, and it's not good.
All my film homies know I'm a valid advocate for DaVinci Resolve, and I'm a proud user before there were YouTube tutorials on YouTube.
Let's go.
Trust me. And Jackson, if you listen to this, I'm not going to stop talking about it. He tells me to stop every time, but I don't care.
No, seriously, DaVinci Resolve, it's a free platform. You can get on there and start learning, and don't be intimidated by the node tree, node structures. Learn it, because it's really, I mean, to me, it's one of those things, like, it's up there with like sound, recording good sound. If you have a bad color grade, I'm kind of out.
Yep.
You know, and then you could lose that moment. I mean, unless you're doing documentary, but still, good color grade on docs are just is fire. What are some resources that you used early on to kind of learn that? Because obviously, every time they update DaVinci, there's like new stuff. How do you stay on task and up to date with those new things that are being added? Or where's a good place for somebody that, you know, trying to get into it, wants to go?
I'm a proud advocate and a proud attendee of YouTube University.
Let's go.
I've always been and forever will be. And as far as like being up to date on DaVinci Resolve and stuff, I follow the updates. I follow Blackmagic very closely, camera releases and stuff like that. And I'll follow updates on what they're trying to implement and stuff like that, very religiously. But like I said, I came from a time where there was no tutorials on YouTube, because I was using it 6-7 years ago, where, you know what I'm saying? I was using it back in the day where...
That's for my kids right there.
Yeah, right. My son do that constantly. I was on it back in the day where there was no YouTube tutorials, and it was just like, it wasn't even competing with Premiere as an editing software. It was strictly just for color grading. Hollywood movies were color graded in DaVinci Resolve, and that's why I decided to do it. And like I mentioned earlier, the way I differentiated myself in the market for music videos was my color grading. I knew I could make my images look better with a lesser camera if I knew how to color grade better. And that's when I started looking into that. And at that time, there were only courses and people you can follow that were actual colorists. So as a part of YouTube University, the Kazman, that's one of my main people that I learned a lot from. Yeah, the GOAT. And he was more my speed because he did a lot of narrative, like creative stuff, but also he taught you how to go for commercial looks. And I knew that if I could get good at commercial looks and narrative, that I would be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So that would be one main resource that I would follow for that. And now there's plenty of people
Some really good ones
out there doing color grading and just showing how to color grade in general. And it's all about how you want to do it. But as far as resources, YouTube, the Kaz man, I paid like $1,000 for his course like 7 years ago, and it paid for itself tenfold. I've actually been the main color grader in the last 2 production companies that I worked for to get better images out of the cameras that they were using.
Yeah, I've been Cullen Kelly.
Yeah, he's.
Dude, I like him because he explains why it is like why it technically is working and why they like logarithmically built that tool within there, which gives you it's a little bit in the weeds, but it gives you an understanding like, oh, this is when I should use this tool versus why I shouldn't use this, why I shouldn't like pull a key on this, color and try to change it. Or use color slice instead because it's like just a better version and why that works. Yeah. And I think that because a lot of times people just go on YouTube and just do what someone tells them to do, not realizing that the person making YouTube videos don't know what they're doing either. They just looked it up and made a video about it. Yep. So you got to watch out for those type of people.
Yeah, and a lot of people like put misinformation and that contradicts what the pros are doing. Yeah. And Cullen Kelly is one of my main people that I watch too. And, he puts out 1.5 hour videos and I watch all of it. 2 times speed, but I watch all of it. Yeah. And the pros just give you, like you said, different aspects of the software that you're using. If you want to really be a colorist, you can't just say you're a colorist because you can make an image look good by whatever. You got to know the tools that you're using and how you use them. There's different ways to saturate than just the saturation knob. There's different ways to add contrast than the contrast knob. There's different knobs that add contrast that you don't even know add contrast if you're boosting them. So there's different things to do.
Don't use the color temperature knob.
Don't use the color temperature knob.
There's a better way.
There's multiple different ways to do a color change color temp and to balance your images, and you don't know those until you go seek them out. And, the pros that are doing this every day as their job are the people that are going to show you how to do these things differently. So there is a lot of misinformation. And, if you watch those people first and then you go see this information, you'll see that like, oh, the way this person uses LUTs and stuff like that contradicts the pipeline that this, professional colorist told me to use. And
I think that's a big thing, the pipeline. This happens in a lot of different aspects of filmmaking, but you start when you're a content creator, and I know there's a lot of us out there that are content creators. You working on your own, but then there's a pipeline when you have to work with others. Yeah. You have an editor or someone doing VFX, and there's got to be a proper pipeline to get it to the colorist so that it can actually work, and we can all be on the same page. Yeah. And those things are really, really key versus when you're just, you're just doing all the editing by yourself and you're not labeling clips or there's no, that kind of thing. Yeah. Is that something that you had to deal with, maybe working with VFX or working with someone doing a sound score and you got to do everything at the same time,
Yep, for sure. Yes. And that goes back to when I was saying that you have to learn every aspect of what you're doing. So even if you learn every aspect of your camera and how you're shooting in it, you still have to know the pipeline down the line. You have to know what color space you're in. You have to know what color space you're trying to display. You have to know these things. There's a difference between Rec 709 and Rec 2020. There's a difference between HDR and SDR. And you have to learn these things and to know them so that you could take a project from start to finish. You can't take a project from start to finish just saying, I shot an S-Log 3, S-Cinetone 3, and going from there. You have to learn the dynamic range of the color space that the colorist is using. You can have all the dynamic range in the world, but if you crunch it in post, it's not going to look as good. DaVinci Resolve has DaVinci wide gamut, which is one of the biggest color spaces. And then you go into ACES, which is the next biggest, and then down from there. You have to know these things, and you have to know how to communicate that, especially to VFX and stuff, because you have to send that in a linear fashion over to them to be able to get it back in a linear fashion and grade it properly. Because the way they put it into a VFX software, even if it's in DaVinci, is going to take information differently than if you're in a color software like DaVinci. It's different. And you got to know those things, and you just got to get your reps in and take something from start to finish, and then ask yourself, how can I do this better? How can I learn more about it besides just clicking buttons?
Yeah. Just for the listeners out there, the people watching, you got really into the weeds on some of those stuff. Mm-hmm. Rewind the episode, go back, take some notes, take some names, some things he said, and go do some research on that. That's the only way that you can really, because sometimes it's like, oh, that's a lot. You're throwing a lot at me. But you got to go in and take those things, go a little deeper, and there's resources out there if you search for specific things. And I think that's what happens sometimes. We don't know what to search for or where to start. So, I mean, my guy Marquel, he's a genius with this stuff. He knows his stuff. You take that stuff and go dive deeper.
For sure, deeper. And it gets in the weeds because this is 7-8 years of me in the making.
You're passionate about this stuff.
And me spending 12-15 hours a day, going to 4 or 5 in the morning, watching YouTube videos and just trying to understand to the highest of my ability what I'm doing, so that I can walk into a space that I've never been before and do something that I've never done before, and at least know how to fake it enough to learn more while I'm doing it. So
I love that.
Yeah. I would say do your research and do more research than you think you need to do.
I love that. Are you a creative looking for studio space? Look no further. Here at Studio Space MKE, all the amenities like this cyc wall and green screen are here at your disposal for your next project. So look up Studio Space MKE on Instagram or on Peerspace. All right, back to the pod. All right, so now it's time for the segment called Director's Chair, where we're going to give our guest, Marquel, 60 seconds to riff about whatever he'd like to talk about when it comes to filmmaking.
What I want to talk about when it comes to filmmaking is the primary reason you should be doing it, which is community. The difference between 20 years ago and now is extremely different as far as how you can break into the community, break into the space, and actually gain value out of the space. 20 years ago, there was a lot lesser of a market in Milwaukee for creatives and people at their specific positions. And now it's increased tenfold. And 20 years ago, people used to be gatekeepers, and they wouldn't allow you to know what they know unless you had the same years of experience as them, because they're afraid of you potentially taking their job. That's not the case anymore. Ask questions, get out there, connect with your people in your community, and just try to gain more knowledge and be useful on set. What Spencer told me one time is the application that you're doing today on this job is your application for the next job. So get out there, get on set, and just try to learn and do more and ask more questions, because there's a lot more people who will give you the knowledge that you want when you want it, and are not afraid of you taking their job because they know the skills and the quality of service that they provide.
That was a bar.
Gotta drop the mic on that.
Yeah, the belief in oneself. When you believe in what you do and you're confident in what you do, you're willing to share with everyone else, because no one's taking anything from anybody. There's abundance of opportunity in this world, abundance of, joy and prosperity, and we got to share with each other. And I think that's what this platform's for. I really appreciate how you came on today and really, shared knowledge.
For sure.
I was... we talked about it, I made mention of it early, but you're just like a good time when you're on set. You're always having fun. You're always smiling. You're always dancing. But like, you really know your shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really cool and what's great about you. And I think this episode just went really great. And thank you for coming here and sharing with everybody, and just, sharing your heart and your passion with us.
For sure. And that's also just one thing that really matters, is you can know everything in the world about what you're doing, but if you're not an enjoyable person to be on set with, nobody's going to bring you back, and being a good person on set allows you to be able to ask those questions that you don't know about, and to just be a good person to be around on set is very key, because you're doing 10, 12, 15, 20 hour days sometimes. And if you're a terrible person to be around, you will not be on the set the next time. It really makes a big difference. And to the point of just sharing knowledge, like if you put in the work and the hours that you know you need to, nobody can take away the skill set that you have. Nobody, I guarantee you, there's very minimal people that have spent as much time on YouTube studying and getting minute in these details as me. So I don't care about telling people the knowledge that they want to, know, because I know what I can do and what I can bring to a set, which is also good vibes always, but also just the knowledge and the level of professionalism and experience that I can bring to set. Nobody can take that away from me, whether I told everybody the same thing 10 times over today and they take all the notes in the world.
Yeah. They're not going to put the same work in that you have.
Exactly. I put in a lot of work, put in a lot of effort, sweat and tears, and it will pay off. Just get out there and just start doing it, and things will start paying off as long as you have a passion for it. Just not even the whole thing. You just have to have a passion for something in it. Like producing, I could care less about that. I'm not a grunt worker. It's not grunt work. It's work that just doesn't matter to me. I don't care about planning a shoot or anything like that. Put me in front of the camera or put me on lights and stuff. I want to be a part of the creative aspect. And there's also people that just want to produce, that just want to put projects together and be the front runner of making a good set and a good set environment. So, just pick what you want to do and just be really, 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 really good at it, so that you know what you're talking about anytime anybody asks you something.
Love that, man. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me,
chatting with us, man.
Yeah.
Dude, this was a blast.
It's always a good time.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, no matter where you might be watching or listening to this podcast, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button, that like button, and comment down below. Let's talk a little bit down below, especially this episode.
Yeah.
Talk about some color grading things that you might not be sure of or you're interested in. And I'll make sure Marquel comes to the channel and answers some of those questions.
For sure. Have a great day, everybody. Go do your research, go learn, and don't be afraid to go out and get on set.
Peace.